All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today's lesson is going to be about the fall of Napoleon. Last lesson, we talked about how he basically came from being dirt poor to the emperor, how he built himself up. Now, today, we're going to talk about the fall and basically how he lost everything. So today's objective, we're going to analyze the attack on Russia by Napoleon. We're examining the significance of the loss of the Battle of Waterloo, which was a really, really important battle. The argument, however, I changed that. So it's not about whether he was a good or bad emperor. I changed that question. So we'll get to that at the end. Okay. But let's get to your warm up picture. Now, Napoleon is the guy in the hat with the little feathers and stuff like that, the smaller guy. The question I'm asking is this. As you can see, he's cutting off a little piece that says Europe. Whereas the other guy, if you notice, he's like taking half. And yes, that thing in the middle, it is a globe. It's like representing the world. So my question to you is this. Do you think Napoleon is going to be happy with his little piece? Or do you think he's going to be like, no, I want more? What do you think? And yes, he is cutting it himself. So take that in consideration as well. Okay, what do you think? Do you think he's going to be satisfied or do you think he's going to want more? Okay, so pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in three, two, one. Now, here's the thing Napoleon tried to attack Britain. Okay, Britain and France are really, really close to each other. But the only thing that's separating them is like the English Canal. And the thing is, even though it's a short distance compared to other places, um, it's rough waters. That the winds through there, the cold, and things like that, the storms. So that area is pretty tough, and Napoleon figures that out the hard way. A lot of his ships get beaten up pretty bad, and the British are just waiting for them to come. And so finally, when the French Navy comes through, they get beaten up badly by the British Navy. Now Napoleon basically goes, you know what? Fine. We'll wait on attacking Britain later. But he says Russia. Now that's a country I want. So on June 24th, 1812, Napoleon assembles a large, large army of like 600,000 men. And they cross the Niemen River into Russia. Okay. Now, thing is, the Russians, not just the soldier, but the civilians as well, start retreating. But as they're leaving, they're burning down everything homes, crops, fields, Um, because the thing is, they don't want the French people basically being able to, like, oh, well, they're not here anymore. Let's eat food. Let's stay in their homes and things like that. They're like, no, we're leaving nothing for you. This is known as scorched earth tactics. So basically, you destroy any and all of your property so that the enemy can't use it. Okay. Uh, this is going to be done later on in the American Civil War by a particular general, Sherman. Okay, but you won't learn about that until next year when you get to U.S. history. Okay. Now, here's the other thing too you got to remember. Look at the date they left. June 24th. So think about what kind of clothes you wear in June and July. Think about that, okay? And keep that in your head for a second, okay? Now, September 7th, like I said, the Russian soldiers start running away, but this is the first real battle that the French and the Russians meet and they fight. The Russians lose this battle, but the thing is, the French army loses about 30,000 men at this battle. Okay. Um, and the other thing is too, uh, if you notice, it's September, so the weather's starting to get a little bit cooler. Now, on September 14th, they arrive at Moscow, which is the capital of Russia at that time. And the thing is, they get there and they basically surround Moscow. But the thing is, the civilians and the soldiers burnt down about 75% of the city of Moscow. Basically, everything outside the walls were burned. Because again, the scorched earth tactic, they're like, well, hey, if you're going to invade us, you're going to be setting up your own tents and things like that because you're not staying in our houses. You're not eating the food from our crops. Now, Napoleon's like, okay, we're here. They're going to surrender. So he's like waiting for uh, the czar of Russia to surrender. And he waits for 5 weeks. And the thing is, things are getting cold in Russia. Russia's winters are unforgiving. They are treacherous. They are cold, cold, cold. Um, so the Russians don't surrender, and Napoleon's like, "Hey, we gotta go," you know, because we're not prepared for this. So they start marching back home, and people are freezing to death. People are starving, to death. Uh, and by the time they get back to the Niemen River, Napoleon only has about 10,000 men. So if you remember, he left with 600,000. Now he only has about 10,000. Yeah, that's a big drop. So here's a little map to show you the the whole trip through um, to Moscow and back. So as you can see, they're losing a ton of guys as they're going through, and yeah, this is like the only time in world history where a, a group wins the battles but loses the war, you know. So it's like it's kind of like if you're a football team and you're the one scoring the touchdowns but yet you lose the game. How is that possible, you know? So since Napoleon lost a lot of men, a lot of countries throughout Europe who were fearful of Napoleon realized this is our chance to get our independence again. So a lot of groups started fighting back. Paris, the capital of France, was captured in 1814 by the Sixth Coalition, which is basically Russia, Austria, and Prussia. Some of these countries don't like each other, but because they hate France more, they teamed up and they basically captured Napoleon and beat him. So he was exiled to an island called Elba. So that was like basically his own little private island, but it's his jail. Okay. Uh, Now the thing is, in France, they need a new leader, and King Louis XVI, he's dead. So they're like, okay, let's get his brother, Louis the 18th. Now, I had a student in class ask me, well, why didn't they get Louis' son, the 17th? Why didn't they get him? Because here's the thing: during the French Revolution, they basically brainwashed him into thinking your mother and father, King Louis and Marie Antoinette, are evil, horrible people, and the whole thing of idea of being a king is stupid and wrong and things like that. So he grew up like that. And when they were basically like, "You should be king," he's like, "No, kings are stupid. That's not how it should be," and things like that. So the brainwashing type of thing did work on him. Here's the problem: a lot of the French people didn't like Louis XVIII, because he was born rich. They remember how things were back in the Revolution times, before that. And they're like, you were always born rich. You don't know what it's like to be poor. Napoleon knew what it was like to be poor. Napoleon knew what it was like to have to build yourself up to something. So he didn't get much support from the people. And thing is, Napoleon too didn't like being a prisoner on the island of Elba. So he managed to escape. He slipped out and he returned to France. Now, the new king was just like livid. How could he escape? An island, this and that. I mean, was there some soldiers there watching him? What in the world? So he's livid. He's angry. He's really, really angry. And he basically tells his soldiers, you need to go get him. Because he knows if Napoleon makes it back, chances are Napoleon's going to have him killed. Now, the soldiers end up finding Napoleon, and they see him, and they start charging on their horses towards him, things like that, right? Napoleon gets off his horse, he starts walking to him, he gets his shirt, rips it open, buttons flying everywhere, and he says to them, soldiers of the 5th Regiment, I am your emperor. If there's a man amongst you who would kill his emperor, here I am. And these soldiers are like, damn. Okay, that's my emperor. Heck yeah, that's my boy. So they respond by shouting "Viva Emperor," which means translates to "Long live the emperor." So now these soldiers who were supposed to uh, get Napoleon, and return him, are now following him. They're on his side now. So on March 20th, 1815, Napoleon enters Paris like on that picture there, Mr. Chingon on the horse and just riding like, yeah, that's what's up. Yeah. The people are shouting, yay, Napoleon, we love you, we love you. He's like, yeah, I know y'all do. Yeah. So King Louis the 18th takes off. He's gone. Okay. Now, word spreads to Russia, Great Britain, Austria, Prussia that Napoleon's back. So they're like, "Oh my God, this guy's like a cockroach. He keeps coming back." So like, okay, we all hate each other still, right? Yeah, we hate each other. Okay, but we all hate France and Napoleon even more, right? Yeah, yeah, we all hate him even more. Okay, so let's get together one more time and let's really defeat him. Okay, we done it before. We could do it again, right? Yeah, let's do this. Now Napoleon knows that they're going to team up and stuff like that, so he needs an army, and he basically tells the French people, "I need soldiers." You know, and the thing is, a lot of veteran soldiers who were still around were like, "You know what? Napoleon's my man. We won a lot of battles with him. He's so smart. He's so good at what he does. I'm going to sign up again." You know, some people get their kids, their nephews, and things like that to sign up as well. So Napoleon raises an army, you know, to fight. Now here's the thing: on June 18th, 1815, at Waterloo, which is in Belgium, Napoleon meets a combination of British and Prussian army. The thing is, the guy who's in charge of this army of the British and Prussian is a guy named the Duke of Wellington. And this guy knows he's not as smart as Napoleon. He knows that he doesn't have the training and the knowledge like Napoleon has. So he's like, I got to outsmart him one way or another. And he ends up luring Napoleon into a trap, getting him to a position where they want him to be. So they kind of retreat in a sense, and Napoleon starts chasing them. And when he chases them, he basically falls into a trap where the Belgium and the French soldier, or the British soldiers, sorry, um, basically attack him from the sides, and they even come from behind and surround him, and they defeat him badly. Once he's defeated and captured, he's exiled again. But this time, instead of the island of Elba, it's another place called St. Helena. Now, Napoleon, I guess he believed, oh, people wanted me last time, they'll want me now again. And the French people said no. There wasn't going to be a rescue, none of that stuff anymore. So basically, Napoleon stayed in St. Helena until he died. And a student asked me in class, well, how did he die? Um, the more kind of popular thing, I believe it's like the most common thing that's people say that he died of was from stomach cancer, that he had ulcers and things like that. Um, and I believe it was like something he took back then that, you know, basically doesn't help you if you have ulcers, so, but yeah. So that's, if I remember right, that's what it was. He died from stomach cancer and from ulcers. Okay. Now, if you look at this picture, this is the Battle of Waterloo. And if you look at the blue where it says one, this is the path that Napoleon took. Okay. And as you can see, right when he got into this middle area, he's attacked from the red here, boom, boom, from the side here, and from the black area right here. Um, they got him from all sides, So yeah. Now your question is this. Now remember, Napoleon attacked Russia. He won the battles, but he lost the war. Okay. So do you think that's still a success? That hey, he never lost a battle when he was in Russia, but he didn't win the war. So would you still consider that a success? Why or why not? Okay. So think about it, write your response. Okay. But once you do, you're done with this lesson. So good job, way to go. Hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Okay. So with that being said, guys, you guys take care. You be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.